And that's when Paul addressed the Athenians on Mars Hill in Acts 17, verses 23 through 26. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. Whom therefore you ignorantly worship, him I declare unto you. The God that made the world and all their things in, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwells not in temples made with hands, neither is worshipped with men's hands, as though he is needed anything, seeing he gives to all life and breath and all things, and has made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on all the face of the earth, and has determined the times beforehand, and the bounds of their habitation. On the scholarly end, there is consensus that Paul is citing Deuteronomy 32:8's Babel outcome here. I'll let it load here so we can actually see these. And why Paul knew that this reference would resonate with the Athenian audience is because he knew their own famous Greek philosopher Plato mentioned it as well. In one of his dialogues between these four people, in which probably the fourth one is pretty famous, Socrates, is that Plato cites Critias, describing the ancient world 9,000 years before this, and he says the following occurred at that time. In the days of old, the gods had the whole earth distributed among them by allotment, but governed us like pilots from the stern of the vessel, holding our souls by the rudder of persuasion according to their own pleasure. Thus did they guide all mortal creatures. Now different gods had their allotments in different places, which they set in order. And a little bit later in the same dialogue, he says, Critias keeps saying the following. I have beforehand remarked in speaking of the allotment of the gods that they distributed the whole earth into portions differing in extent and made for themselves temple and instituted sacrifices. So you get the whole pagan origin story again here. The only difference between this and Deuteronomy 32 is that they don't have God, the real God, in the equation, which Paul rightly informs the Athenians that the unknown God that they're worshiping is the one who actually divided up the nations and why the world is the way it is at this point in time.